As you can already tell, I like JRPGs, and as you can probably also tell that this is a direct sequel to another one of my videos that I did before. Of course, I would appreciate if you watched it, but of course, you don't need to since this is just, again, me talking about more things I find annoying in the JRPG genre. Of course, like I did last time, these things aren't 100% deal breakers to me, but they do get on my nerves whenever I notice them. Also, as I mentioned before, this is a sequel to another video, so if this one piques your interest, I will link the other one in the description and put in the iCard at the top. But let me actually go into the video, and one of my biggest annoyances definitely has to be when bosses or wild encounters don't show HP bars. This to me is just a visual thing because I like to see how much HP the monster has before I kill the thing. Also, with some games I've noticed that don't have an HP bar, they have an extra spell that lets you see it, and that to me kinda just sounds dumb. Why waste a turn like knowing how much HP the enemy has when you could just put a visual indicator on screen? This can be kinda justified because, you know, the characters don't know how much HP the monsters have left, but it's a game and I don't really think that really matters all that much, but it's whatever. Another thing that's super annoying is when the game forces you to lose the fight. This of course is done for story reasons, but I think there are better ways to handle it. Maybe putting in a cutscene, or maybe have two versions where say if you win the battle, then the cutscene could maybe show you slightly winning, but then get like ambushed or like just severely wounded and like stuff like that in the cutscenes, and that way it can make it a little bit more natural. Something else that really annoys me is when a monster or enemy has an elemental weakness, it doesn't really change much in the battle. What I mean by this is that in most cases you just do more damage, you absorb the attack, or you nullify the damage. I think games like SMT and Persona do this kind of better since it does give you extra turns and it can drastically change the battle. But what I've mentioned at the start, sometimes it just doesn't really go all the way in most games. Like say for example, maybe if you use ice attacks, it could slow the opponent down, and wind attacks can make maybe certain attacks hit less. Like for example, if you use a wind attack and an enemy tries to use a fire attack, maybe the fire attack just gets blown away and nothing happens. I kind of wish that of course more games just took this elemental stuff a lot more seriously, because again, if you hit the elemental weakness in most cases, it just does more damage. I do know how some attacks do cause status effects, but it's just standard at this point. I feel like at most it just maybe gives you a chance to paralyze, and I guess that can kind of affect the battle, but again, it's just not really a big change since a lot of it is dealt up to RNG, and I feel it's just, you know, again, really annoying that how it just hit the elemental weakness and do big damage. The next thing is also super annoying to me, and that's not being able to swap your party members at any time. Some games only let you swap at certain points, and that being save points for example. Swapping in battle is very mixed because I've seen some games that let you do it and some games that don't let you do it. I think for the most part it should be a thing in a lot of more games because, you know, you can just swap in the middle of battle and change up your tactics on the fly, and I think it should be able to waste a turn because, you know, I feel it's a good trade-off for something like that. And not being able to swap all the time just, again, kind of annoying because, you know, say if you want to test out a certain team party and then you can't go swap into that because you have to go back to the save point, and just, you know, really annoying. The next point kind of backpedals to what I mentioned before, and that's related to save points. I find it really stupid how there are just certain areas where you can save, and I feel that's pretty common in a lot of JRPGs. For example, you might be able to save in the overworld, or you might have to again find a certain save point. I feel this is really stupid because if you're grinding for levels or something and then you end up dying, and then say if your last save was like 20 minutes away, or like say it's just again a certain amount of length away from where you were, then you have to go spend time traveling back and just doing all that grinding again, and I find it very stupid. There's that, and sometimes I just want to be able to save the game and drop it and not have to extend my playtime by finding a save point. Another thing I know that isn't unique to the JRPG genre, but it happens quite a lot, and that has to be dialogue choices not really mattering. To me, it's a very meaningless part of the game just because, you know, all it adds is just meaningless flavor text, and it just changes like the direct next line and maybe a very small event in the next upcoming scene. But again, it's not really that big of a deal. It's mostly just play off a random comedy, and I feel you can still have that without having the meaningless dialogue. And I know some parts in the game are super important, and I feel like overall it's just like weird because sometimes you can't tell what's important, sometimes you can, and it's just really weird how, like, you know, the important ones are just maybe obscured because it's like, oh well, I don't know if this one's serious, I don't know if this one's meaningless, and just how much does this really change the game and stuff like that. Something else that I've noticed, and I think it's very mixed across games, is how stats are distributed when you level up. And this definitely has to be when you level up. Sometimes the stats are just completely randomized, and you might either get a really good buff in stats that you want, or you just might get totally useless stats. Like, for example, you might get strength on your mage, which you don't really need since you're not really going to use that strength stat. And I feel that it should really just be either that, say for example, every stat levels up, but some stats just level up at a slower rate. Like for example, I noticed that in something like the Skya, well, if you have the warrior class, they gain a lot more attack a lot more faster, but they still gain stuff like speed, but at a lot slower rate. Then I really noticed that this really happens in a lot of stuff like Fire Emblem and Persona, where you level up and then it just randomizes the stats. Like for example, a Persona that's a really heavy magic user just ends up getting strength for whatever reason, and I find that super annoying. I wish you could either, again, use the thing that I mentioned before, or have something where you get to pick what stat levels up, because I feel it just makes it a lot more efficient and just a lot more better overall in terms of just playing the game. And that's some of the things I just found really annoying in JRPGs. Of course, as I said before, not all of these are deal breakers, just stuff that I find really annoying in a lot of games. But of course, what are some things you guys find annoying in JRPGs? And I want you guys to tell me in the comments down below, and thank you all for watching. And if anything, I might continue the series if I think of more stuff, or again, maybe if you guys want, I could maybe just list all of the stuff that you guys find annoying in a video, and I could just make a part 3, but I could just make it like a special edition where it's just based on what you guys say. So again, if you guys want that, just comment down below and what you guys find annoying in JRPGs, and I will probably comment on them in a video if I get enough. And I might just end up doing like another part of this video where instead of JRPGs, it could be stuff like character action, or maybe just other genres if I'm really familiar with them, or it just might be based on in other games that I play. Like for example, I could talk about annoying things in Zelda or whatever, but just, you know, it just depends on what you guys want to see. But yeah, again, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys later.